Welcome to Daily Review, your daily dose of literary exploration. We dive into books that spark curiosity and ignite growth.
And while our passion often leads us to nonfiction reads that empower and improve your life, really, no book is off limits.
Exactly. From gripping thrillers to insightful memoirs, compelling fiction, historical accounts, we're here to share and discuss all the interesting reads we discover.
So tune in for your next great book idea.
Today on the Deep Dive, we're tackling The Four Disciplines of Execution by Covey with contributions from Jim Huling. You, our listener, flagged this one seems like it might hold some keys to why, even the best plans sometimes just fizzle out.
Right. And Covey, he's from Franklin Covey, oversaw this whole methodology. Jim Huling brings decades of actual corporate leadership experience. So real world chops there.
Yeah, this isn't just some dry business theory book. It even got the nod from Stephen R. Covey, 7 Habits guy.
Mm-hmm. And at companies like Marriott, they're built on that idea of taking care of employees so they take care of customers. Apparently, they use these principles to stay focused on the guest experience.
So the big question the book asks is, why is it so incredibly hard to actually do the things we strategize? Even when the goal seems clear, leadership's pushing for it. Why does execution fail?
And the authors basically say, look, it doesn't have to be this difficult. They lay out these actionable disciplines designed to get, extraordinary results.
Okay, so our mission today is to really dig into those core challenges, why execution trips up, and then explore these 4 disciplines they offer as a solution.
Yeah, we want to pull out the key takeaways that you, the listener, can actually use. Whether you're, leading a team or just trying to achieve a personal goal, why do good strategies so often stall in practice?
Let's get into it. What's one of the first big distinctions the book makes?
Well, right away, they separate initiatives into 2 buckets, which I found pretty insightful. There are things you can achieve with a stroke of the pen and things that need actual behavior change.
Okay, stroke of the pen, like making a big purchase, hiring people, changing a reporting structure, stuff you can authorize if you have the power and the money.
Exactly. Capital investments, expanding staff, new systems, maybe buying another company. If the authority and budget are there, boom, it can happen relatively quickly.
But there's always a but.
Right. But, as the authors point out, even those stroke of the pen things often ultimately depend on people changing how they act for them to really succeed.
So they eventually run into the need for behavior change anyway.
Pretty often, yeah. And that's the second category. Strategies that inherently require people to do things differently, like improving customer service or boosting quality or being more responsive.
Things that require changing habits, routines, the daily stuff.
Precisely. And we all know how hard that can be, which leads to a really startling finding in the book about a fundamental barrier.
Which is?
Just a basic lack of clarity. It sounds simple, but their research.
Wow.
How bad was it?
Get this. They found only about 1 in 7 employees could even name one of their organization's top 3 goals.
1 in 7. Seriously.
Yeah. And a massive 85% either had no clue or named the wrong goals entirely.
That's staggering. And I imagine it gets worse further down the ladder.
You guessed it. Clarity just erodes as you move down the hierarchy. It's like playing telephone with your company's strategy.
So people are trying to execute, but they don't even really know what the target is. It's like trying to score points in a game where nobody knows where the goalposts are.
Exactly. And that lack of clarity is just the starting point. It gets worse.
Oh, great. Well,
on top of not knowing the goal, they found issues with commitment people just weren't bought in. Then not knowing the specific actions they needed to take day to day.
Okay, so I don't know the goal, I'm not sure I care, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it anyway. Pretty much. And then a lack of accountability. No one's really checking if things are getting done.
Makes sense. And then there are the subtler things too, right?
Yeah, the book mentions things like lack of trust, compensation that maybe doesn't reward the right behaviors, poor employee development, just bad decision-making processes getting in the way.
It sounds like a recipe for disaster, honestly.
Yeah.
Whole mess of things working against execution.
It really can be. And the authors wisely say, look, don't try to fix all of this at once. That's like trying to boil the ocean, as they put it. Focus is key.
Okay, so if you can't fix everything, what's the biggest single thing getting in the way? The main culprit?
They identify something they call the whirlwind.
The whirlwind. Sounds dramatic.
It kind of is. It's basically all the urgent day-to-day stuff that consumes massive amounts of energy just to keep things running. Your emails, the meetings, the unexpected problems, the regular tasks, your actual job.
The daily grind. The stuff you have to do just to keep the lights on.
Exactly. And the irony the book points out is that this very whirlwind, the thing that keeps the organization functioning today, is what makes it so incredibly hard to focus energy on anything new or strategic for tomorrow.
It's like you're constantly putting out fires, so you never have time to build the fire station.
Perfect analogy. The urgent screams louder than the important almost every time. Leaders struggle to even separate the two because, well, both feel critical for survival.
Right. You need to handle today's crisis, but you also need to build for the future.
But they're constantly fighting for the same limited resources: time, people's energy, focus, and the whirlwind. It almost always wins that fight.
Now, the book isn't saying the whirlwind is bad, right? It's necessary.
Not at all. It keeps the business alive day to day. Ignoring the urgent stuff would be fatal right now, but only living in the whirlwind is fatal tomorrow. It leads to stagnation.
So the challenge is finding a way to execute those important strategic goals amidst the chaos of the whirlwind.
That's the core challenge. And a huge part of why it's so hard is that we try to do too much. We dilute our focus.
Right. Trying to chase 5, 10, maybe even 20 priorities at once.
Yeah, the book argues that's a recipe for failure. Your focus gets spread so thin it's almost useless. It actually makes the whirlwind feel more intense because now you've got all these extra important things demanding attention on top of the daily stuff.
And efforts get diluted, resources stretched, success becomes really improbable.
Exactly. And it gets worse as goals cascade down. A few top-level goals can explode into hundreds of little initiatives that nobody can keep track of, which brings us neatly to Discipline 1.
Okay, Discipline 1. Focus on the wildly important. This sounds like the antidote to that dilution problem.
It absolutely is. The core idea is simple. Human beings, teams, organizations.
Yeah.
We have a finite amount of focus and energy. The more things you try to jam in, the less you actually accomplish on any one of them.
So what's the discipline? How do you focus?
You identify and commit to a very small number of wildly important goals, WIGs they call them, like no more than 1 or 2 WIGs for any given team on top of managing the whirlwind.
Only 1 or 2. That sounds radically focused, especially for ambitious leaders.
It does, and they have data. Teams focusing on 2 or 3 goals often hit them. Try for 4 to 10. Maybe you achieve 1 or 2 if you're lucky. Go for 11 or more. You achieve basically nothing. Focus is just gone.
And leaders who are often idea people, wanting to do more, they can be their own worst enemy here.
Absolutely. That drive to innovate and add new things constantly bumps up against this discipline.
Right.
Learning to say no, even to good ideas, becomes crucial. That's a first focus trap. Trying to do too much.
What's the second trap?
Trying to turn everything inside the whirlwind into a wig. Trying to improve everything all at once.
Spreading the focus too thin again, just in a different way.
Exactly. They use this analogy. Trying to push all your fingers through a piece of paper at once doesn't work. But focus all that force onto one finger, you punch right through. That's the wig.
Makes sense. Unless it's a stroke of the pen goal, you need that concentrated behavioral change, that focused energy.
Right. Now, sometimes choosing a WIG isn't just about the numbers or the immediate business impact.
Oh, so?
Sometimes the WIG needs to be something deeply connected to the organization's core mission, its reason for being. They give this great example of a thrift store chain.
Okay. What was their wig? Selling more clothes?
Not exactly. They shifted their WIG to focus on helping people in the community become self-reliant.
Wow. That's quite different from just sales targets.
Totally. It was fundamental to their mission. And this WIG apparently transformed the organization, aligning everyday actions with this deeper purpose. It went way beyond just operational metrics.
That really shows the potential power of a well-chosen wig. Okay, so focusing a team is one thing. Focusing a whole organization is another layer. But first, how do you define these WIGs effectively? It can't just be a vague idea.
Absolutely not. A huge pitfall is having goals that aren't clearly measurable. You know, things like improve customer satisfaction or enhance teamwork. How do you know when you've actually done that?
Right. It's subjective. There's no finish line. So how do you make it concrete?
This is where lag measures come in. The lag measure is the ultimate result you're trying to achieve for your WIG. And the key is it must be defined in a very specific format, from X to Y by when.
Okay, give me an example. Instead of improve inventory processing.
It becomes increase inventory turns per year from 8 to 10 by December 31st. Or instead of strengthen client relationships.
Maybe. Increase our average client loyalty score from 40 to 70 on the scale within the next 2 fiscal years.
Exactly. You've got a starting point, X, a target Y, and a deadline by when. It defines exactly what success looks like and when you need to achieve it. It creates a clear finish line.
If a goal is truly wildly important, you absolutely have to know objectively if you've hit it or not.
Precisely. They use the classic NASA example. Put a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth by the end of the decade.
Super clear WIG. Defined lag measure man on the moon, back safely. Clear deadline, end of the 1960s.
Yep. Incredibly ambitious, huge technological gaps, but the clarity drove accountability and focused immense effort. It's a powerful contrast to vague, fuzzy goals.
Okay, so discipline 1 is nailing that focused WIG with a clear from X to Y by when lag measure. What's discipline 2?
Discipline 2 is act on the lead measures. So if the lag measure is your destination, the WIG. The lead measures are the actions, the levers you pull that will actually get you there.
So lag measures track the result, lead measures track the activities that drive the result?
Exactly. Lead measures track the crucial new behaviors the team needs to perform consistently to hit the lag measure. They're the things you can influence directly, week in and week out.
And a good lead measure has 2 key features, right?
Yes. First, it has to be predictive. Meaning, if the lead measure moves, you can reasonably expect the lag measure to move eventually. Second, it has to be influenceable by the team. They have to be able to directly affect it through their actions.
Okay, the book uses the weight loss analogy here, doesn't it?
It does, and it's a great one. Pounds lost, that's the lag measure. You can't directly control that number today. But
you can control how many calories you eat today and whether you exercise for 30 minutes. Those are the lead measures.
Precisely. Limiting calories, hitting your exercise goal, those are predictive of weight loss, and there are things you can directly influence and track daily or weekly.
And leaders often get stuck just staring at the lag measure, and frustrated that it's not moving, when they should be focused on the levers, the lead measures.
That's a common trap. And the book emphasizes it's not just knowing the lead measures like diet and exercise. It's about measuring your performance on them consistently, tracking the calories, tracking the workouts.
Measurement is key. Got it. The Moneyball example really drives this home.
Yeah, the Oakland A's. Instead of focusing on expensive star players, which is kind of a lag indicator for wins,
Billy Beane focused on the lead measure of on-base percentage, something predictive of scoring runs, and something they could influence by recruiting specific types of undervalued players.
Exactly. They acted decisively on that lead measure, and it predictably led to more runs, more wins, even with a tiny payroll. It was revolutionary because it shifted focus from the lagging outcome to the predictive, influenceable actions.
Brilliant. Any other examples?
They mentioned a newspaper sales team. Their lag measure was revenue, instead of just fretting about the final number.
They identified lead measures like number of calls to new prospects, reactivation calls, upsell offers made.
Exactly. Things the sales team could directly control and track each week. By focusing on hitting their targets for those lead measures, they saw the lag measure revenue start to climb, eventually exceeding their goals.
Okay, so discipline 1 is focus on the WIG with a clear lag measure. Discipline 2 is identify and act consistently on the predictive, influenceable lead measures. What's discipline 3? We need to know if we're winning.
You nailed it. Discipline 3 is keep a compelling scoreboard. Great teams, the book argues, always know at any given moment if they are winning or losing.
Makes sense. You need that feedback loop. So what makes a scoreboard compelling and effective for the players, the team?
It needs 4 things. 1, it has to be simple, like instantly understandable at a glance. No complex spreadsheets.
Okay, simple. 2,
Visible, hugely important. The team needs to see it easily and often, not buried on a server or stuck on an office door nobody walks past. It has to be where the team works, constantly reminding them of the game they're playing against the whirlwind.
front and center. Got it. 3,
It needs to show both the lag measure, progress on the WIG, and the lead measures, so the team can see the connection. Are the things we're doing, lead measures, actually moving the needle on the result? Lag measure.
crucial connection. And 4,
It has to clearly show the goal versus the current reality, where you should be versus where you are, so you know instantly. Are we winning or losing right now?
so it's not just tracking data, it's showing performance against the target. They had that events company example, right?
Yeah, booking trade shows. Just showing the number booked wasn't enough. They needed to show the number booked versus the target for that week or month. Only then could they see if they were actually on track, if they were winning.
That context is everything. And the manufacturing plant example, scoreboards made a huge difference there.
Massive. They struggled with missed targets and quality issues for ages. Put up simple, visible scoreboards showing performance against goals. Radical change. Data acts like a light. When people see they're losing, if they care, they figure out how to win.
It taps into that competitive spirit, that desire to succeed. It engages people.
Hugely. It fosters a mindset of winning. And that's way more powerful than just telling people what to do. The Minnesota Cystic Fibrosis Center example is incredibly powerful too.
Remind me.
Weekly meetings reviewing patient lung function, the critical lag measure, but also rigorously tracking lead measures like weight and treatment adherence, holding themselves accountable via the data.
That level of focus and measurement for such a critical outcome. Wow. But passion isn't always enough, right? The automotive design example.
Right. Designers loved the work, but engagement was low. Why? Anonymity, irrelevance, long time until their work saw light, and immeasurement, subjective feedback. People need to see their impact and know the score.
So a compelling scoreboard provides that visibility and connection. The Tarboro plant, the valet parking service. Similar stories.
Yeah, Tarboro used weekly WIG sessions focused on moving the scoreboard needles, huge engagement and results boost. Town Park, the valets, focused on the lead measure of retrieval time, involved the team in improving it, tracked it visibly. Customer satisfaction soared because the team was engaged in winning that specific game.
That engagement piece seems critical, which leads us right into the last discipline.
Discipline 4. Create a cadence of accountability. This is where it all comes together. The book argues that real commitment, the kind that drives amazing results, rarely comes from just top-down orders.
Right. You need people to want to achieve the goal, not just feel obligated.
Exactly. 4DX aims to tap into that intrinsic desire people have to do meaningful work, to contribute, and to win. It's a different feel than, say, traditional annual planning with complex, static plans.
More dynamic. They link it to Weight Watchers again here.
Yeah, same principles. Clear lag measure, weight. High leverage lead measures, points tracking, and crucially, that regular accountability, the weigh-ins, the meetings.
That accountability piece is vital. The grocery store example showed that, right? Scoreboards weren't enough on their own.
Absolutely critical lesson there. They put up scoreboards, had the WIGs, the lead measures. Nothing changed. The whirlwind just kept sucking everyone back in.
So what was the missing ingredient that finally made it work?
The leaders started holding brief, regular, weekly WIG sessions. Focused sessions.
And what happened in those sessions?
He asked each department head one simple, powerful question. What is the one thing you can do this week that will have the most impact on the scoreboard?
Shifting the focus to personal commitment and action for the coming week.
Exactly. And crucially, the team members came up with the commitments themselves. They owned the solutions. They weren't just being told what to do. That created buy-in.
That ownership is key. And the 4DX dashboard helps visualize all this.
Yep, it shows the WIG, lag measure versus target, the lead measures versus their targets, making it clear if you're winning or losing on both the outcome and the drivers. It's the focal point for the WIG session.
So the WIG session itself, what's the rhythm?
Typically weekly, very brief. Each person reports, here's what I committed to last week, here's how it went, here's the impact on the scoreboard. Then, critically, here are the one or two specific things I commit to doing this coming week to move the lead measures.
So it creates a rolling, just-in-time plan owned by the team, focused squarely on moving the scoreboard.
Precisely. And when teams see their commitments directly impacting the scoreboard, moving that lag measure, morale, engagement, it just takes off.
So the 4 disciplines together. Focus on the WIG, Discipline 1. Act on the lead measures, Discipline 2. Keep a compelling scoreboard, Discipline 3, and create that cadence of accountability, Discipline 4.
That's the core system. The book then goes into a lot more detail in later sections, like a field guide for implementing it with your team, chapter by chapter, and then rules for rolling it out organization-wide, drawing on company experiences.
Covering things like engaging the middle performers.
Yeah, the idea of moving the middle, helping the solid performers become top performers through this focus and accountability. And practical stuff like setting team WIGs, brainstorming lead measures, designing scoreboards, running WIG sessions effectively.
It sounds incredibly practical, not just theory, but a real how-to.
Very much so. Lots of checklists, examples, troubleshooting, things like how leaders should make commitments focused on enabling their teams, not just doing tasks themselves, or what to do if a WIG isn't moving.
Okay, let's step back and unpack this for everyone listening. The 4 disciplines of execution. It really seems to offer a clear, practical framework for getting stuff done, moving beyond just planning to actual results.
Yeah, that focus on the WIG, the emphasis on those predictive lead measures, the power of just seeing the score, and that regular rhythm of accountability. It feels like a really solid roadmap.
And what's really compelling, I think, for you, the learner, is how grounded it is in real examples.
Absolutely. It's not just abstract concepts. They show it working in hospitals, factories, sales teams, government agencies. Even for personal goals, like the author's own weight loss story, using the principles, it makes it feel very applicable.
The real aha moments seem to come from understanding why the usual ways often fail, lack of focus, getting lost in the whirlwind, no clear measures, and how these disciplines offer, well, almost deceptively simple fix.
Deceptively simple, yeah.
Yeah.
But powerful when applied consistently.
So thinking about your next great book idea, while 4DX is definitely nonfiction, business, personal development, the core ideas feel universal.
Totally. Clear goals, measurable actions you can influence, tracking progress, holding yourself accountable. That's fundamental to achieving anything significant. Whether you're writing a novel, training for a marathon, learning an instrument, leading a project.
It gives you a lens, a framework for thinking about achieving any goal-oriented outcome, really, whatever you're reading or trying to do.
So if you're intrigued by, the science of achievement, how focus works, how to make things happen, this book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, is definitely worth a deeper look. It's very practical.
It promises to shift how you think about goals and, more importantly, how you actually go about achieving them.
Right.
Okay. And now for that final provocative thought to leave you with. Thinking about your own life, your work, considering that relentless daily whirlwind.
Yeah.
What is the one wildly important goal for you right now?
Yeah, the one thing that, if you achieved it, would make the most significant positive difference.
And then, taking it to discipline too. What's the first measurable, influenceable action, that lead measure you could take just this week to start moving the needle on that goal?
Think about it. What's your WIG, and what's your first lead measure commitment?
Let us know your thoughts. We always love hearing about your own deep dives and experiments.